Good afternoon. Hi. So the lights are kind of bright, so I can't really see faces, which is probably good, because I won't get as nervous. And I've been doing this forever, but I still get nervous. I guess all performers do. Thank you for coming. This is for the Longwood Writers Workshop. There are 6 of us. We're like the 6 Musketeers. We've been together a good while, actually some longer than others. Here today with us from the workshop are Denise Nicholas, our author of today, Denise Billings, Hattie Winston Wheeler. In the audience is Dr. Otto Starworth and Gwen Williams, soon to be known as G.W. Williams, she tells me. It's a little secret. So thank you for coming. This is a treat. I've had a chance to read the book. Denise Billings did a wonderful job with this book. In a way, it's a page turner. I kept going, and what did you do next, and what did you do next? And she called it Road Trip. All of us in the workshop kind of have familiarity with it because we would meet before the pandemic every couple of weeks at a table at Denise Nicholas's home, who was our mama bear. And we would talk out and we would read, and many of the pieces, Denise's book, not all of them, and in fact a lot of them that she read are not in the book, but a lot of them were. So we were familiar with a lot of it, and the growth that I saw in her writing and all of our writing as we went through this workshop. We've become such friends. Otto has already published a book, has another one out and another one coming. Denise's is out tomorrow. And Denise Nicholas has a second book, a memoir that's coming out this year. Her first novel, Freshwater Road, was a prize winner. Hattie has an incredible book. I have one I'm working on, and Gwen's working on some stuff. So we're pretty proud of ourselves. But I think today is, I call it Denise Billings Day, because she did a wonderful job. So to tell you a little bit more about Longwood Writers Workshop and how it came to be is my dear friend, Denise Nicholas.
Thank you. Okay. I have sinuses, so bear with me. We, the Longwood Writers Workshop, first gathered around my dining room table in 2018. My goal in establishing a workshop was to share and promote the techniques I'd learned in other professional writing workshops, like the Community of Writers up in Lake Tahoe, Janet Fitch's Journeyman's Workshop here in town, the Natalie Goldberg Workshop in Taos, New Mexico, and many others. The underlying reason for creating a community of writers who struggle with many of the same demons throughout the writing process cannot be ignored. Writing is a beautiful, but oh so lonely way to spend your creative time. Having folks close by who understand that is very helpful indeed. The other reason in my hard head at the time was to push through some kind of publishing entity until, that is, I had a nightmarish dream of opening my front door and seeing thousands of boxes of books on my front porch that I could not even get out the door. End of dream. We did push through to publishing, but not like my nightmare. Denise Billings is the second writer from our workshop to publish. We were in this space last spring for Otto Stallworth's launch of his first book. Everyone at the Longwood writing table, including Hattie Winston and Gwendolyn Williams, will be published when our anthology sees the light of day later this year. I'm currently working on a memoir to be published by the same company that published Freshwater Road. I feel like, and am, I guess, the mama bear of this incredible group of people. When my life and work pulled me away from our workshop, longtime friend and colleague Charles Johnson stepped up and kept things moving right along. I'm grateful. I'm so proud of Denise Billings, of her dedication to this work, her discipline. Her discipline was incredible, and her result. She is now a published writer, and a very good one.
I privately refer to Road Trip sometimes as a tale of two cities, St. Louis and Los Angeles, because Denise grew up in St. Louis, went to college there, but I think St. Louis was a little too provincial for her. So she came to Los Angeles, spent a lot of time here, had a lot of experiences here, and then she went back to St. Louis. But this time when she went back, because she'll tell you about a lot of her experiences, she eventually met her fourth and final husband, as she says on the thing. And it was a true love story. And then she came back to Los Angeles. They've been together 27 years. And I joke with my friend that she finally got it right. A little bit about Denise Billings, and you've heard about it. She got a BA in psychology at Lincoln University, Missouri. She's been a union representative, a fundraiser for nonprofits, and a bookstore owner. She once had a bookstore called Denise's Books, so she's always loved books. Previously, she contributed articles to several publications, and before, during, and after the C Word, an anthology. And she and the rest of us have, as Denise said, an anthology coming out in, I think, well, we hope later this year, maybe this summer or the fall. It's called Stories from the Longwood Writers Workshop. Is that it? Oh, no, I forgot the title. We've changed it so many times. A Gathering of Voices. Is that it? Gathering of Voices, the Stories of the Longwood Writers Workshop. So we're going to be calling you back again in the fall to come, because all six of us are represented in that book. Ladies and gentlemen, and I want to say two of Denise's proudest productions are her lovely son, Tyra Woodard's the second, who's right there, and Earl. Ladies and gentlemen, the lovely Denise Billings.
I can't see you either, but I'm glad you're here. Thank you, everybody who came out to support me and who have supported me through all of these years while I was obsessing about this book. Thank you, Longwood. Thank you, Denise, Nicholas, who brought out the best in me. Woo. I'm going to take a moment to read an excerpt from the book from chapter 3 called Goodbye, Daddy. And I hope I can hold it together while I read this. I've got some bad news, my mother said in a soft whisper. I was used to her regular reports of death in the family, but this time something was different. There was hesitancy in her voice. By then, she was far removed from Daddy after their divorce nearly 20 years earlier, but she felt sorrow too. I could tell it hurt her to tell her children, my brother and me, that our father was dead. I took solace in the knowledge that I had taken baby Bobby to St. Louis back in July, and Daddy got to meet his grandson. Grief enveloped me like a cloud. My mother tried but couldn't lighten the weight of the news. I don't know any more about what happened, just that he was shot at work. My father and I had just begun talking to each other more often. Years had gone by where we hardly spoke, just neglect, no animosity. We grew apart once I went off to college, and in the 2 years since I had moved to Los Angeles. I was so into my new life that I drifted out of touch with my St. Louis family. Daddy was thrilled to see Bobby, and then, in just a few weeks, he was gone. Bobby never had a chance to know him. He was 49 years old, and our relationship's bloom became a wispy memory, its vibrant color slowly fading. The account I heard at the time was that his fellow officers had set Daddy up because he was a whistleblower. It was said he spoke out about a scandal involving charges of a breakdown of law and order in the Wellston Police Department. His actions resulted in a demotion from chief of police to sergeant. A young black man whose family he had supported emotionally and financially murdered him. Daddy was sent alone on a call to a burglary at Jean's Package Liquor Store. The suspect shot him in the chest at close range as he got out of his patrol car. The gory crime scene photo printed by the local newspaper remains etched in my mind's eye. It showed my father's body splayed on his back, on the ground, his head and shoulders on the curb, his torso and legs in the street alongside his vehicle. The first time I saw the photo, I couldn't look at it. I quickly tore my eyes away, threw down the paper, and sobbingly rushed away. Not ready to face the horrible truth, days passed before I made a second attempt. A hard look at the moment my father took his last breath led to the gut-wrenching thought of the pain and surprise that must have been in his eyes before they closed a final time. The world saw my father in a vulnerable position, and I hated that. Why couldn't they have printed a photo of him smiling in his uniform the way I wanted to remember him? My stepmother, Miss Taylor's two eldest sons, Maine, a police officer, and Jay, a police detective, had moved out by that time. In what I imagined was their attempt to comfort us, my stepbrothers shared with the family after the funeral what they'd heard at work. "The two guys that killed Jesse have been taken care of," Maine whispered. What? In a fog of shock and grief, I didn't fully comprehend what they were saying. Jay spoke a little louder. "Yeah, the fools were in jail bragging about killing Jesse. They're dead now. We won't have no more trouble out of them." Maine looked self-satisfied. It seemed the killers had received the justice I felt they deserved. I accepted what I was told without question, but it did not make things better for me. It did not bring my father back.
Marcia Cann is an actor, storyteller, writer, and poet, and a native of St. Louis. She's also a graduate of Washington University. Her work has been published in poetry anthologies, including World Walkers, Frontlines, St. Louis Muse, African Voices, Tribe and Black Renaissance Noir. And during the late 70s, early 80s, Marcia did a 7-year stint in New York City, where she taught drama and creative writing, performed poetry and showcased in jazz venues, and studied with Dwayne Jones at the Richard Allen Center for Cultural and Art, and Barbara Ann Tier at the National Black Theater. I actually did some work with the Richard Allen Center as well. We'll have to talk afterwards. I just met Marcia today, but one summer I spent some time at Richard Allen Cultural Center. Amazing. Moving back to St. Louis in 1984, Marcia began a period of over 30 years working in education and the arts. In addition to the work in the public schools, she continued her longtime association with the St. Louis Black Repertory Company, which is where I think she and Denise came together, and became founder and artistic director of 40 Corners, a study and performance workshop designed to help teens develop a perspective on the civil rights movement in the 60s and how that translates and informs issues they face. In 2014, Marcia and her husband Clement, who is recording for us, got an offer they could not refuse to locate once again to New York City. But they returned to St. Louis in July of 2022, ended another 8 years for Marcia of living and creating in Harlem, where she worked with the Potluck Poets, writing and performing poetry on Zoom and in Harlem and Brooklyn venues. She is dedicated to igniting the creative spark to telling the story and was recently nominated for a PEN America Award. Marcia is excited to continue Potluck Poets Zoom performances, publish her first collection of poems, and complete other creative projects with husband videographer Clement. I have to tell you, I met her for the first time today, and the first thing she did, I stuck out my hand and she gave me a hug. That tells you a lot about Marcia Cann.
It is my true honor to be here with you all today. Denise is my bestie. We have traveled a ways together. I'm reading from chapter 6, Crack Monster. Why would I marry the man who beat me? I remembered the sweet man he was when I met him. That's who I wanted. That shy, gap-toothed, smiling man. Determined he could be a father figure for my young son. I dreamed of a family life, parents and kids all living together, ignoring his deception and lies about the drug use. I wanted desperately to believe him. I wanted the lies he told to be the truth. I loved him and thought I could save him. I charged ahead as if acting like everything was okay would make everything okay. The argument that ended with me in the emergency room happened 9 months before the wedding on a brisk day in early fall of 1985. I felt Cooper's negative energy as soon as he walked in the door, nervous and jittery. He paced like a caged animal. Where the fuck are my headphones? What did you do with them? He snatched open drawers and then slammed them shut. He nearly ripped the hinges off the closet doors, screaming and banging so loudly I was sure the neighbors could hear. I didn't do anything with them. I pulled out a clean nightgown and began undressing for my bath. You probably pawned them. I would have remembered if I pawned them. Why you be messing with my shit? His eyes clouded with rage. I'm telling you, I didn't touch your shit. You need to calm the fuck down. They can hear your ass down the street. Kicking off my shoes, I went into the bathroom, praying he'd take this time to simmer down. Filled the tub to the top, swirling in fragrant oils, and then peeked out. You better call the pawn shop, check with them. I closed the bathroom door and sank into the jasmine-scented bubbles. Just as my body unwound and let go of the tension of the fight, Cooper charged through the door into the narrow bathroom with eyes blazing and arms swinging. You think you're so damn smart, don't you? The first punch caught me in the face. I saw stars as I slipped under the water. I thrust my arm straight out in front of me to fend off his blows. My body was slippery with oils, thankfully, and some of his blows slid off. What are you talking about? He hammered at me. Stop it! Stop hitting me! What are you doing? Slipping underwater again, I swallowed mouthfuls of jasmine-flavored water. Finally getting a toehold, I pulled myself out of the tub, but it was hard to get by him in the tight space of the bathroom. I grabbed a towel rack and used it to push past him and into the hall that led to the bedrooms. Always getting so damn smart with me. I'm gonna fix your ass. He rushed behind me into the hall. Have you lost your fucking mind? What are you doing? Why are you doing this? What did I do? He hit me in the back, shoving me. I fell headlong into my son Bobby's bedroom and landed on the floor. Naked, I rolled around on the carpet floor, dodging his flying fist. I held my forearms over my face, elbows out, trying to deflect the blows. Then he slapped my bare skin. I tumbled toward the dresser and smashed my toe against the sharp corner. The pain, deep and throbbing. With no time to grab my toe, I kept moving. I stumbled into my bedroom and snatched on a bathrobe, and in my bare feet, and I hate being barefoot, I inched into the hallway. Cooper was still in Bobby's room. Thankfully, Bobby was with his father and didn't witness what happened that dreadful day. Spent, he sat on the edge of the twin bed, glassy-eyed and gulping air. Sneaking past him and escaping down the stairs to the driveway, I limped to the front of the building to the downstairs apartment of the neighbor I thought was a friend from years of visits. When I knocked on the door, she answered, but only opened it a tiny crack. Can I use your phone? I have to call the police. I need help. I need help, please. Without a word, she shut the door in my face. I couldn't believe it. All of the hours we spent together ragging on our ineffectual landlord, who was always unavailable in an emergency, swapping gossipy tidbits and the woes of our love lives. She even knew how I felt about Cooper, and now she shut the door on me. No, she didn't. Already dumbfounded by what happened upstairs, her refusal stunned me further. Surely, I looked a fright with wet hair standing on end and my eye red and swollen. She probably heard the horrifying sounds of our fight, staring blankly at the closed door. I stood there a moment, but there was no time to contemplate the status of our friendship. I needed to get away, needed help right then. Embarrassed to be a public specter, stumbling about, half-dressed, I staggered down the 3 short steps of her stoop to the sidewalk. The bumpy concrete scraped my bare feet as I trekked unsteadily to Claudia's house next door.
That is a wonderful piece. It's much more detailed in the book, so you got to buy the book. But it's a wonderful piece. Thank you, Marcia. The next reader is one of my dearest friends for a long time. Both her lovely husband Harold Wheeler, that many of you know, and their lovely daughter Samantha are like extended family to Ann and me. Hattie, as you all know, is an acclaimed actress, singer, Broadway veteran. She's done a lot of television, and many of you may remember her on Becker as Margaret for 6 seasons with Ted Danson. She and Denise Nicholas go back to being founding members of the Negro Ensemble Company. That was 1967. And I actually knew Denise pretty early on, Denise Nicholas, in the early 70s. Didn't meet Hattie until later, but we've all become fast friends. Hattie's done, you guys may remember Electric Company, Homefront, Castle, Girlfriends. She was a regular recur on Cedric the Entertainer's show, and she's done so many other things. I got to see her in Tap Dance Kid on Broadway, The Two Gentlemen of Verona, and I didn't see her in Vagina Monologues with Scapino, but she's always been wonderful at what she does. But she's going to read today. Hattie's always our secret weapon, because she is such an incredible reader. She's also a wonderful writer. Her book that I know will come out soon is one that we all love. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend, Hattie Winston Wheeler.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, Charles mentioned that Denise N. and I were founding members of the Negro Ensemble Company. All that means is that we old. But we still here. Bill Bonner. When I think of him, it's always his whole name. He didn't live with us, but he spent many nights at our house. He even had a key. That's how much my mother trusted him. One sweltering July day after a big family reunion picnic in O'Fallon Park near our home, he tried to teach me how to kiss. While my mother and brother unloaded baskets and supplies from the car, he managed to get me alone in the house and corner me in the kitchen. You're old enough to know how to kiss, let me show you. He grabbed me by the neck and attempted to put his tongue in my mouth. Repelled, I pushed him away. Ew, no, stop it. My mother liked him so much, I didn't mention it. Not long after that, my mother and Bill went to a party, sporting a shimmering white mini dress and her hair piled high in a big bouffant. My mother puffed on a cool cigarette on her way out the door. Bill Bonner held her by the elbow. My brother and I were long asleep back at the house when Bill returned alone. He made a detour into my bedroom. I woke up to a shadowy figure in my little girl pink bedroom with a flounced canopy covering the bed. He mumbled something, but I didn't understand. His heavy weight dropped onto the left side of the bed. Quivering with fear, gulping for air, I sat up and I scooted away from him toward the head of the bed. He followed me, murmuring words I couldn't make out. He touched me under my pink ruffled polka dot nightgown. Frightened and confused, I tried to push him away. What you doing? No, don't. Shh. I'm not gonna hurt you. Why was he here when my mother wasn't? I couldn't squirm any further away from him. The headboard pressed into my back. He came closer and closer to my face. I still couldn't understand what he was saying, but I could smell the cigarettes and alcohol on his breath. I felt his fingers inside me, and I cried for him to stop. No! Ow! Shush. I struggled to push him away, but I was an 11-year-old girl. He was 6 foot, 200+ pound man. It was not a fair fight. I didn't stand a chance. Yet, even with those odds, I grappled harder when he put his big mouth over my face in what he may have mistaken for a kiss. His mouth covered my nose and I couldn't breathe. I kicked at him and his hand came out of me. I wailed, and the shadow crept away. He left and went back to the party where my mother waited. While I cried and tried to comprehend what had just happened to me, I knew for sure that I needed to tell my mother. Scribbling a note on an envelope that described what happened to me and who did it, I took a chance and I left the note in my mother's bedroom on her dresser. She might have brought him home with her that night. She did not. Maybe she felt something was wrong. When she got home and read the note, she must have known that her maternal instincts were right. My mother and I did not have a warm, fuzzy relationship, but we had a deep connection. Oh, she was my #1 protector. She woke me with a fitful sleep. What happened? Bill Bonner came in here. He hurt me. I sobbed while she held me tight. Oh, no, that motherfucker. I had never heard my mother curse like this. She cursed lightly, but not like this. Did he put anything inside you? She was very gentle with her questions. At 11, I didn't know what the question meant. Mommy, he put his fingers in me. Did he put anything else in you? No, Mommy, just his fingers. Tears rolled in a river, splashing off my chin. She held me some more and helped me get dressed. I didn't know why we were putting on clothes in the middle of the night. What she did was take me and my brother to her mother's house. My grandmother, whom I loved dearly, was there waiting for me in the red bedroom upstairs where I slept when we spent summers there. The walls, the upholstered chair, the bedspread, and the carpeting, all shades of crimson. They welcomed me. Did he hurt you, baby? Grandmother, he pushed me and wouldn't stop when I begged him to. Fresh tears flowed. Did he put anything in you? Here was that question again. I whispered, he put his fingers in me. It hurt. He didn't put anything else in you, did he? No, ma'am. Just his fingers. I'm gonna run you a bath, okay? It'll make you feel better. Okay. When I soaked in the tub of dishwashing soap bubbles, I could hear my mother and my grandmother talking in the other room. There was an urgency in their muffled voices, but I felt safe in my grandmother's house. Nothing bad could happen to me here. I internalized the unsafe feelings for decades. Nightmares still sometimes plague me. Though no one told me to, I did not speak of what happened again to anyone. Not to my brother, who was only 9. And he wouldn't understand. He would understand even less than I did. Not to my girlhood best friends, and never again to my mother and my grandmother. I just tucked it all inside. I didn't know what else to do.
Kobe, is it on? Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Way over there.
Oh, come closer. Let's go closer. You guys just heard 3 excerpts from a book. There's a lot of emotion. Denise, it really was a road trip, but it's not just a road trip where she, as a 20-some-year-old, packed up and came to Los Angeles. It's a journey, a road trip through her life. And she had a lot of experiences. I sometimes was, when I was reading, you got through that and you made that choice. And she learned a lot. How long were you here? Was it the first time, 10 or 12 years? You remember?
Are you asking me math questions?
Yes, ma'am.
From 78 to 91.
Okay. About maybe 11, 12 years, something like that. Well, I'm bad at math too, so.
Yeah, it was-
But anyway,
exactly.
there was a lot of stuff happening in that journey, and I'll save it for some of you to read the book. But she takes us through it. For instance, when she leaves, you have to shut me up because I enjoyed the book so much that Denise is going to say to me, "It's my interview, not yours." But she takes us through that trip when she decides to leave. St. Louis was just too small for her. But she didn't come to L.A. to be an actress.
Nope.
I'm not even sure at the time she was coming to L.A. to be a writer. I don't think
Nope.
she knew that. She just was looking for a more interesting, a wider life. She was always kind of interested in the arts, although I don't think it formed early in her life. And then she ended up, for many years, with the telephone company. And that's where she spent a lot of her years that first time around. But I love the fact that when she got ready to leave, your mother's name is VC or Bessie?
Versi. my
Versi.
mother- Yeah.
So, and you heard Hattie talk about the fact that they didn't always have a warm and fuzzy relationship, but they were bonded in who they were. But she didn't want, Versi didn't want her to leave, and Denise was determined to leave, but I just love that scene in the book where she comes down the stairs, and her mother's got the bedpost from her bed upstairs, and she gives it to her and says, take it with her. And Denise said, what am I going to do with this? And she said, well, you're going to protect yourself. So that I love that bit, and you riding in that little Volkswagen with the bedpost
Bedpost.
alongside you. But
in
she
hand.
takes us through that, and she takes us through a young woman alone who not, I think, ever been much outside of St. Louis. And she stops along the way, and she gives us the description of where she's staying and the motels, and she didn't have a lot of money, and all of that she did along the way, and she describes it so beautifully. And I want to get to the fact that I was having such fun reading the book because I sat through a lot of stuff in our workshop. And we would all crib from each other, and we would all listen to Denise Nicholas, and then we'd go home and cry and try to rewrite. But when I read Denise Billings' book, this road trip, I went, boy, did she learn a lot, did we learn a lot, and did we grow? So let me ask you this. I want to go a cut to the fact that you always loved books. I didn't learn much of that until later when you had a bookstore, and it was called Denise's Books. But she wasn't, in her head at that early years, she wasn't a writer. When did you decide that you wanted to be a writer?
I was well old when I decided I wanted to be a writer. I would say in my 40s.
Really?
By the time I thought I might want to write a book. I had been journaling a little bit, but I was well in my 40s deep into my 40s when I thought it was just a little kernel that I wanted to write a book. And then I just put that kernel away, and I was doing the book selling. But once I got back to L.A., and I had been living with Earl for a while, and I was retired, and I thought I started saying it out loud. I started saying it out loud to people that I knew, to people in my support group. I started saying it out loud. Yeah, I think I want to write a book. And I said that out loud for years, and I probably wore out people's ears about it. And then what held me back was that I didn't want to be criticized. As I'm a recovering perfectionist, so I think I know everything, and I think I'm the best and the smartest, and so I thought I didn't need anybody to tell me how to write a book because I had read millions of books. I just was going to write a book. But one day somebody hugged me and they said, well, don't you want it to be good? Well, what a concept. What a concept. And so that's when I finally put my ego away and decided, okay, I would try to learn how to write. I would take a class or go to a workshop. But even after that moment, I still waited some more years before I actually decided to write a book, and before doing something about writing a book, before taking actual action.
That's interesting because when you read the book, it takes a while before you realize, when did she want to write? Because you go through all these experiences. You had a number.
Yeah, it was no talking about writing in the book at all.
And you did that stuff at the telephone company. You had lots of jobs. At one point, Denise was doing something where she was actually she had the belt.
The tube belt.
And all that, and getting up on poles and stuff. And she did that. She was a supervisor for many, many years. And writing just wasn't in the thing. There's a great story at the end of the book. Where when she starts her bookshop, she talks about the fact that there was a 1 Million Man March in Washington. She's going and buying all kinds of books, and she gets duffel bags full of books, buys them all, and goes down to a bus caravan where all these black men were heading off from St. Louis to D.C. for the Million Man March. And she says, hey, your brother, you need something to read on the bus? Well, you know, men don't read books, and black men read them even less. But she sold all those books. And
I
by
thought
the
that
time
was
those
genius.
buses,
I thought that was just genius.
but that tells you something about what was in her head and in her mind that she didn't really bring out until many years later. One of the other questions I had for you is, in the book, were there things you told us some interesting stories that Hattie and Marcia and you read. Was there anything that you did tell us in the book that you wish you had? Because you're pretty honest.
Yeah. No, I hesitated about many of the stories, but Denise Nicholas said, put it on the page. And so everything that I worried about putting on the page, when I put it on the page, that was the thing that needed to be said. And so I didn't have any regrets.
No regrets.
No regrets. I was concerned about my son and my husband. Other people in the book, I didn't care. I mean, I care, but
Yeah.
But those two men, and I never showed them anything while I was writing.
not at all, huh?
No, because I didn't want to. I didn't want to be talked out of anything, and I just didn't want their influence. But I did want them to be okay with it. So when Earl read the book, The Fourth and Final Husband, when he read the book, he was out of town, and he took it with him on the airplane, and so he called me and he said, I'm reading a book, and I'm gonna have some questions when I get home, because you didn't tell me everything. And when my son read the book, he took it really slow, and he learned some stuff about his father and everything, and he told me, he says, from now on, when somebody asks me why I'm like I am, why I'm messed up like this, I'm just gonna hand them the book and say, this is what. So to me, both of those responses were okay.
Okay.
These two guys were okay, and after that, I was okay.
One of the things you do in the book, which again came out of the workshop and Denise's dunning us, is you make us know all these people. We learn about your love and your relationship with your mom, and it wasn't warm and fuzzy, but it was solid, and she was always, I mean, there are things you tell in the book about you're 40 years old and your mother says, where are you? Why aren't you calling me? And you're saying, I don't have to count to you. And she says, yes, you do. You're my daughter. But you lovingly, your grandmother you talk about, and you describe, of course, your love for your son and for your husband and all those relationships. And
And my BFF.
well, your BFF, but that came a little later when I want to get to that before we wrap up. But I wanted to tell you that you made us feel, you made us understand, and we could see those people. That's how well you did it, and I loved that, and I think the readers will love that about you. And your story is not only very honest, but refreshingly inspirational.
Thank
And
you. Thank you.
Really, I do mean that. Let's talk a little bit about the workshop, because I just want to know what you felt. I know how close we've all become. And we're all old in the workshop. And I am actually the oldest person in the workshop. I hate to admit it, but that's true. But, huh? Oh, wait. Okay, you're not too far behind. But, and Denise is the youngest.
Yeah, I'm the baby.
She's the baby of the group. But talk a little bit about how, when we sat in those sessions every other Saturday and sort of beat each other up. It was always constructive. How you felt and how you learned from that.
That is still the best experience of my entire life. I did not know how happy I could be in a room of people with like minds in writing, and I was so inspired that after each meeting, I would have to go home and just lay down. I would just be like, it was so much. It was so much to absorb, so much to learn, so much to love, and I was coming to understand that I was a writer.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't sure at first.
Yeah.
But every day, after each meeting and riding home with Hattie, me and Hattie may be in the car and we'd be like, whoa, wasn't that, oh my God, that was so, oh. We just like little kids in the sandbox. It's like, this is so much fun. And so that's how I felt every single time.
Yeah.
And I would just be so excited to see each face. Yeah. And I still am hyped about it.
I know, and I wanted to bring that out because I felt the same way, and I'd go home and I'd be so hyped at what I'd learned, and I kept feeling that everybody was making progress, and feeling like I can do this, I can write.
And
Ann
you know what
Johnson-
else we did?
Yeah, what?
We cried a
We
lot.
did that.
We cried a lot.
Yeah, we did that. Especially when we couldn't feel it wasn't working. But one of the things you did well, we all did, but you really did well, is you put your head to the to the grindstone, and you worked hard. You listened. You never ever got mad at anybody. You just okay, I'll look at it, I'll take it, and then you bring it back, and it would be better. And you did that better than some of us.
Because the criticism I was worried about, the way Denise put it to me, she would just say, have you thought about doing it this way?
Yeah.
Oh, do you think this is a good idea? Now, you don't have to use it, but you might want to try this. So the way she said, the way she put it to me, I was like, yeah, I can do it. Yeah, I got this. So it didn't feel like criticism. It was just the help that I needed.
Well, there was a lot of love in that room, and still is. Ann Johnson gave me a question for you, and she said, ask Denise Billings what she would say now at her age to the 21-year-old Denise Billings.
Girl, listen. It's going to be rough. Before it gets smooth, it's going to be rough, girl. But keep going, just like in that snowstorm when you just kept on driving, you couldn't see, but you kept on following that truck. Just keep doing that through your whole life. Just keep following that truck, following the red lights on that truck, and just keep going, girl, because that's how you're going to make it.
Yeah, Denise. Yeah, she was caught in a big snowstorm. Where was it? Where were you? In Oklahoma, someplace?
It was a cold place. Colorado. Thank you.
And she was behind this big truck, and she could hardly see. And so that's why she says, keep your eye on the prize and keep going forward. 2 more questions, and then we'll do a little Q&A. If there was a movie written of road trip, who would play Denise Billings?
That could happen. It could happen. People keep asking me that, and I keep saying Queen Latifah. Yeah, because I think we from the same tribe. Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Ingenue Ellis. I'm changing from Queen Latifah to Ingenue.
Well, that's great. For those of you who have had a chance to see Origins, Origin, I think it is singular.
She could do half. If she could do half what she did in
I tell
Origin
you,
for me.
She came really a long way. She's a wonderful actress, but and we have to give props to DuVernay, who did a wonderful job with making that a great screenplay. And for all of you, Ava DuVernay didn't wait from some studio to give her the heads up to do that film. She went out and found the money. She got it. She financed it through the Ford Foundation and a couple of philanthropist women who gave her the money, and she got it done. So that's a good one.
Yeah.
Last question. I know you're a writer because I worked with you. Had the good fortune of being with you 4 or 5 years. I hope I can be as successful when I finish my book as you are.
Do you know who you are?
But
I have no doubt.
well, I take that and I love it. But I do want to ask you. Have you thought about your next book?
Yes,
Oh.
I have.
Oh,
Because Otto up there, I'm just doing what Otto does. I'm just gonna do what Otto does. He said, I use this book publisher. You ought to use it. Okay, I'm doing this. You ought to try this. Okay, everything that Otto did is working out for me. So he's writing his next book. So I'm like, yeah, I'm ready for my next book. My next book will be a collection of short stories.
whoa.
Which is, I thought that I was going to do that this time because I thought I had been blogging. I was just going to slap that into a book, and that would be a book. Yeah, no. But I'm crafting some beautiful short stories that I want to string them together, and so that's what is
Well,
next.
congratulations. I want to open it up for a few questions from you guys, but I want to tell you that she went on. You go on this road trip with her in this book, and then she ends up with the most wonderful love story at the end of the book. I don't know if I told her this, but she kissed a lot of frogs before she got a prince. And she and Earl have been married 27 years, and they
As
just.
a matter of fact, today is our wedding anniversary.
Oh my God! How terrific! But you bring it home to that. When that whole story, when you and he spent all that time together. He was doing a play at was it St. Louis Repertory? Mm-hmm. Marsha was there, and you guys. Whatever, and by the time Earl left after that play was over, the Eugene Lee play, they kind of knew. They weren't sure how they were going to get together, but she came back, and they have lived happily ever after. And she ends that book where this is a woman who had a long journey and a road trip, but she made it successful, and now you're here. She's going to do another book. So thank you all. Before we end up, can you have any questions? I can't see, but Kobe's out there. If there are a couple questions, he has a mic.
Oh, there's the husband back there.
There he is.
Trying to be incognito.
Well, my question, first of all, I love book covers. And so my question is, how did you select and design your book cover?
Well, I wanted it to reflect the road trip that I was taking you on. So that VW Bug, that's the one that I drove from St. Louis to Los Angeles. The other trip is a trip Earl and I took. It really doesn't relate, but it's just cute, and I like it. When we were going to Mount Rushmore. So that's where that came from. And then I don't know who took that picture, probably Bobby's, my baby daddy, took that picture of me in his grandmother's house. So that's me at the age I was when I took that road trip, when I first got to LA. So that's what that is. And so I handed over all of that stuff to the book cover designer that Otto recommended. And she sent that back to me because I told her I wanted it to look like kind of a scrapbook. And that's one of the things that she sent back to me, and I loved it. She didn't have to change a thing.
I love it too.
I don't want to ask a question. I just want to say something. It's Kiki.
Hi, Kiki.
Hey, baby.
Hey, Kiki.
I just want to hug you.
Oh.
I want to slap you upside your head.
Okay.
I want to run around the room and scream and holler with you. Just congratulations, Denise. One never knows what's inside a person. And just these excerpts that we heard today, I'm flabbergasted. I'm like blown away because your spirit and your joyousness and your happiness has always exuded from you. But there's so much more to you that I'm so excited to read Road Trip, a memoir. Congratulations, sister.
Thank you, thank you, Kiki, thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
I was wondering, so when you're sitting down and going back and writing all of these things that you've been through from a perspective where you're not actually going through it anymore, what are some things that you either learn or relearn about yourself? Thank you.
Well, even today, as I listen to the stories today, is still very, very emotional. Very emotional. And what I learned is that I am strong. I'm a strong black woman. I'm strong. I'm strong, and I can get through anything. And as black women, as people, we can get through anything. It's amazing how one can become used to anything, good stuff, bad stuff. I used to live in a house that was under the flight path of an airport, and it was horrible, but I got used to it. And so I can get used to anything. So I can get used to a thing long enough to get through that thing and to the next thing, and things keep happening.
Thank you. Very inspiring.
Hey,
Marguerite. Oh, wait.
Hey, Denise.
Oh, Dawn.
It's Dawn.
Hey, Dawn.
Hi. You've clearly led such a full life, and to Kiki's point, you think you know someone. We've known each other for quite a while and didn't know all of that. So my question is, this book, based on what is here, feels like it could probably be 3 times as thick with more stories and more adventures. How did you narrow your journey down to this collection of stories? And does that mean that there's going to be save room for the next book on the road again?
I may use that title. Okay, if I don't say it's okay, okay. Well, when I was looking for inspiration when I first joined the Longwood Writers Group, Longwood, I had to bring something to the table to the first meetings, and so I was flipping through my blogs and my blog entries and trying to figure out what was a compelling story. So that one story of that road trip from Los Angeles to St. Louis, that was the ending of the story that I liked. And then I was like, okay, and for the beginning, it'll be, that when I came out. And so I thought I would just write about those 2 road trips from St. Louis to LA and then from LA to St. Louis, and then write about the 30 years in between. That's how I figured that part. And now as for the next book, it will have more stories. It will have more stories of, because it was so much I wanted to say, but I wanted to keep that one focused. And so I'll have more stories to say, because that story only came up to the well, anyway, there'll be more. I'll just leave it at that. There'll be more.
Oh, hi. Yes, hi, it's me.
Hi, Marguerite.
Hi, it's Marguerite. Hi, Denise. I'm
Thank
just
you.
smiling from ear to ear to hear this amazing journey that you're on. You know, when you said that throughout the years you've been telling everyone around you and also yourself that I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book one day. I'm going to write a book. Do you remember if there were any barriers to you writing this book during those times? And if there were, was one of them imposter syndrome, feeling that you were comparing yourself to others or that you feel that you didn't have enough stories in you?
Absolutely, yes. I said earlier that I didn't want to be criticized, but it was really fear that was holding me back the most. I mean, it was fear. Fear, fear, fear that I wouldn't be good enough, I wouldn't be smart enough, my story would not be interesting enough. All of those things held me back for a very long time. And then I didn't want to say, you know, the deep, dark, ugly things. I didn't want to say those things. But, and I worried about that. But then I heard somebody say that he was asked, how do I protect my story once I put it out there? And he said, oh, well, you can put it in a drawer and you can close it and lock it and throw away the key. Or you can just put it out there. So, yeah, so I just put it out there and so it didn't, and I didn't die. I'm still standing. So I'm glad I did. Absolutely. I absolutely untucked. But I untucked well before putting it in the book in order to even do that. I untucked. But, oh my goodness. Okay, focus. I untucked well. Yes, Marcia.
Working. Oh, now it is. Okay. Actually, I don't have a question.
Hey, Marcia,
I have a
Marcia,
comment.
Marcia.
I have a comment. It has been 60 years since we have been championing each other and encouraging each other. We've been best friends for 60 years, and I just have to say, I'm not shocked because I always thought she was, you know, heaven on earth, but. But for her to complete her heart's desire to get this book published is so encouraging to me. I'm a writer as well. And I just want to say in front of God and all of you all here, the woman is bad. not bad, but bad good. Yeah. Talking about life, telling life stories only women sure of themselves tell. And I bet I saw every color there is and more. She spoke of journeys and fears and knowing and not knowing and taking chances. The woman is bad. All right. Not bad, but bad good. No wonder that she spoke like silk and cool like blue and warm like earth. I thought she was standing on the mountain when she talked about life. Then I realized that she was the mountain. And the sky above it. She's Africa and a St. Louis girl living in LA, sure of herself. And I bet I see every color there is and more. I love you, Nina. I love you.
That's my Marcia.
Miss Denise, I just want to say congratulations from one author to another. I wish you much success. Kudos to you. I am sure you had many late nights, many kind of powerful, poignant emotions that were evoked while writing your book. And so I just pray God's blessings over you and your story. I can't wait to read it and share with you. My question to you is, what can we do to support you? In addition to buying your books, you know me, I'm going to post on my social media pages, and I hope others do as well. But what can we do to support you? Can we have book signings at colleges, universities? Yes. Like, what can we do to help you be more successful?
Yes, all of those things. And you can also call bookstores and say, hey, do you carry Road Trip, a memoir by Denise Billings? Just keep making those calls to bookstores. Yes, and make them interested in this book. Yes, and, you know, tell your friends, give books as gifts and whatever other you're supporting me by being here today. And I appreciate you so much, every last one of you, because there's some folks in here I haven't seen in years and years and years, and they have showed the fuck up for me. Thank you. See, it's people.
I don't know if she wanted the mic, but we just texted this morning, and then I looked up and there you are.
Yeah, and I said, are you in town? I see you're in town. Yes.
But
Denise. You're welcome. For those that don't know, I'm Romel Foster Owens, and I'm a producer, director, writer, And this is like the second time I've been to your organization's event. And we gotta talk. Because this has to go further than just an intimate conversation. And these stories need to be told where we can see them.
Our stories have value.
They do, and it's really interesting how I've been in the business for a long time. Hollywood is secular. Chaz knows, you know, it's like every 12 years, oh, maybe we need a black story. And then it happens for 2 or 3 years, and then we gotta wait another 12. And we're just now finishing that last third amount, and we have to really trust each other to tell our stories and get it out there. We really, really need to do that because our stories are important. And you've lived through some things, and Denise, and so has Hattie, so has Charles, that people need to know about because it'll make them better and stronger. Like you said, to say you're still standing is really, really important. So I love the question of how can we support you guys? It needs to happen. It needs to happen.
You know, thanks for, I look around this room and I see a lot of faces, of course, that I know, and I see a lot of wonderful, strong black women who I'm always proud of, because I'm married to one of those. And Rommel is getting ready to do a virtual women's affair later this month. And she's been out there on the forefront, and many of you don't know it, but so many of you in the audience who I've had the privilege of knowing, working with are there. I want to end this by reading something in the book that Denise said, I read, and I thought it sums up who she is. She said, life in America can be such a fight. Each day I leave the house hoping for a good day, hoping not to have to go to battle for a peaceful day. Most of the time, things go smoothly, but I always have to be ready for that one person offended by my existence.
Ooh, who wrote that? That was good.
Thank you all for coming. Buy the book.